Have you actually had complaints from members of the public direct to you?
Well, you get the odd chap who sticks his head round the door and yells out, "You should all be ashamed of yourselves," you know.
I saw a chap the other day in a combat jacket with a woman on one arm and a handbag on the other, you know, and he had 3 good conduct stripes. I thought that was funny.
Police car pulled up. He asked me if I was in the services. I said, "You must be joking."
You really want to go around looking like a peacock, do you?
Yes, why not? I like all these weird things, you know what I mean?
I don't know if I should come home with it.
You're
I
an
might
American?
try. Yes, sir.
How would they react to it at home, do you think?
I guess it'd be pretty wild.
This season, they're changing the scene at Buckingham Palace. More eye-catching than the guards themselves, a new regiment of redcoats competes for the tourists' attention. They're the Peacock Pioneers, a motley collection of recruits who've taken the Queen's uniform, if not the Queen's shilling, the vanguard of a new army of trendsetters. Military uniform has suddenly become the very badge of non-conformity. Of course, it's not khaki battle dress the youngsters are so quick to clamber into. It's the scarlet tunic of another age that calls them to the colours. Their demand for the flamboyant is satisfied only by old dress uniforms left over from long-forgotten wars. And in this Red Army, just like Chairman Mao's, there's no class distinction. A general's mess kit rubs shoulders with a bandsman's blues. A gunner's buttons may grace a trooper's tunic. And it's not because of fashion, but the law.
It shall not be lawful for any person not serving in Her Majesty's military forces to wear, without Her Majesty's permission, the uniform of any of those forces.
That law, the Uniforms Act, is 73 years old. But today, police are likely to take action only if a uniform is authentic in every detail. In London's West End this week, it was half an hour before these 2 young men were stopped. And even then, what made the police reach for their notebooks was not the uniform, but the medal ribbons. The top row alone included the Victoria Cross, the OBE, the DSO, and the MC. For the long service view, Welsh Guards RSM Dick Fletcher.
Sergeant Major, how upset are you by the way young people are wearing uniform?
I'm not terribly upset, but I do know many soldiers, old and young, who are upset, terribly angry about this business. I saw a chap the other day in a combat jacket, sort of thing, with a woman on one arm and a handbag on the other, you know, and he had 3 good conduct stripes. I thought that was funny because I thought even in the eyes of the Lord he wasn't entitled to 3 good conduct stripes.
It was from the seedier end of London's Portabello Road rather than the smart boutiques of Carnaby Street that this new fashion sprang. Here in 1965, 2 young men went into partnership selling old fur coats and demobbed suits. Today, they've a new trade and a patron, Lord Kitchener, whose finger beckoned so successfully from the recruiting posters of World War I. Those who respond to Lord Kitchener's call today may find themselves in trouble with the law. So the shop's owners, Ian Fisk and John Paul, have guaranteed to pay their customers fines.
Right, there it is.
That's the one you was arrested on, wasn't it?
19-year-old Frank Perry was one of the first to claim. Frank was arrested as he walked home one night wearing a Royal Marine jacket. His fine, £1 with 3 guineas costs.
What exactly was it? One was actually wearing the coat and not being in the services, and the other one was discriminating it. You know, through the long hair and the...
What time was it?
Holding it in
in the morning.
2 a.m. What were you doing? Just walking along
Walking
the street?
home, yeah. The
You weren't
police car
drunk?
pulled up. No, perfectly sober. Police car pulled up. He asked me if I was in the services. I said, "You must be joking." Straight down to the station.
But Frank Perry is undaunted. Rejected by the Royal Marines, he takes refuge in the West German police. In the second-hand trade, there are only 2 kinds of uniforms. Most common, the basic red or blue tunic that was still being made for the soldiers of the 1418 war. Today's price, 30 shillings. These simpler styles could be improved with velvet collars and gilt buttons. And for those who can afford £10 or so, there are tailored tunics, the cast-offs of hire firms glittering with gold braid. Part owner of this new supply depot, John Paul.
John, how did you get into this business?
Well, it was more by chance, really. I suppose we was down the East End of London, that was my partner and I, in a market, and we saw two old tunics laying on the stall. So they were red, you know, nice and bright, so we said we'll pick them up to brighten the Portabello Road up, you know. So we put them on and we found that the kids were taking an immense interest in these tunics, so, you know, we thought we was onto something good, so we went to buy some more. And then as from there, that just started. From then, we developed into other lines, other tunics, diplomats' coats, and the whole thing just mushroomed.
Lord Kitchener's Kinky Army has joined forces with Lord John of Carnaby Street.
I think that anything that is military will always sell. I think the young boys of today, possibly because they miss their national service, it's a little difficult to say, they might feel they're missing out on something and they like to dress in something which is military. And whenever we bring out shirts with epaulets or anything of this description, it always seems to cotton on and they sell.
Are you going to make a lot of money out of it?
Well, we sincerely hope to. We're in the business to make money, and, well, I hope we'll be successful on this one. I think we will be.
Why do you like it?
Oh, well, we're sort of mod, you know. The Stones wear them, we're my favourite group, you know, and I see them wearing them, so I like to wear them myself.
A bit bright for me, you know. I don't like that sort of thing.
Why not?
Well, I like all these weird things, you know what I mean? But I think that's a bit bright.
Are you thinking of buying this?
Well, I don't know if I should come home with it.
You're
I
an
might
American?
try. Yes, sir.
How would they react to it at home, do you think?
I guess it'd be pretty wild.
The gold mainly and the glamour, you know. No, I think it's different, you know, it's something unusual.
I don't usually wear these. I just come for a cape. I usually wear a leather jacket.
You really want to go around looking like a peacock, do you?
Yes, why not? I think it's pleasanter, I think it's brighter. Men have been too dowdy for far too long.
At Nathan's, the theatrical costumiers, where they take uniforms seriously, agreement from James Laver, the social historian and expert on costume.
What people are looking for, subconsciously, is not only more gorgeousness in their clothes, but a kind of meaningfulness, a symbolism, if you like. And of course, what could be more full of such meaning than a military uniform? Because a military uniform not only shows your country and your regiment and all that sort of thing, but it's deliberately intended to make you more of a man than you would be without it. And it's a noted proverb among recruiting sergeants in the days before conscription that it was much easier to recruit men for the smart crack regiments because they had a better uniform. And it was a smart uniform that got the girl. Well, I suppose these young men who buy uniforms have something subconsciously at the back of their mind of the same kind.
But what is it about old uniforms that young people really like?
To me, it's a very interesting symptom of something which may very likely happen to men's clothes in the next generation. Because if you believe that our clothes are dictated to us by the deepest unconscious desires of the opposite sex, you have to ask yourself what women want in a man. And what they want, of course, deeply, is that he should support their family. Therefore, for the last 150 years, they've tended to look at a banker as the ideal costume. But if the mother state takes over all the functions of the father, women won't need to choose their partners in life by their look of being about to support a family. They will be able to choose them for their attractiveness as men. And the erotic, decorative principle will transfer itself back to male costume.
Well, I think a lot of it is to do with nostalgia. I mean, you know, respect for old things has always been left to older people to take. But I think there's you know, the young kids of today like these old things. I mean, some of these tunics 50, 60 years old, and I think it's great. Coupled with the fact they're a very smart garment anyway. Everybody's always looked up to a uniform. You know, I mean, there's nothing more smart than, say, a brigade of guards going down the Mall. And also, I think, you know, it's very smart, pop groups 5 or 6 kids in these tunics, they look great. I've seen it on stage and I think it's terrific.
Have you actually had complaints from members of the public direct to you?
Well, we have had 1 or 2, you know. You get the odd chap who sticks his, you know, some old chap comes along and sticks his head round the door, you know, and yells out, "You should all be ashamed of yourselves," you know. But I can see their point of view, really. I suppose there are these old soldiers and old empire builders, you know, from years ago, and they see that it all ends up in a seedy little shop in Portabello Road.